ready to learn, you know?
Okay, so why? Red sweater, why? Why are junior high your favorite? Because by the way, they're squirrely kids, those junior highs. Challenge is right, and I will tell you that I tell everybody, anybody who has ever come into my classroom to observe me, and I have a lot of people that are like, hey, you're the teacher of the year, can I come by and observe you? And I'm like, oh, okay, sure, fine, come in. Right? Anybody who's come in, they say, how do you have such command over your classroom? And I say, I taught junior high school for 7 years. That's how I have command over my classroom. I learned the skills in junior high, right? I think every single teacher should be a junior high school teacher at one point because you really learn the skills. Okay, so now what I want you guys to think about, and every single one of you guys is either junior high, high school, or junior high, or elementary school in general. Think about this. Okay, so we did this activity not just as an icebreaker, because by the way, I really don't like icebreakers. I've never been a fan of them myself, but to actually think, okay, so if I'm going to use this strategy in my classroom, how can I? What would I do? I mean, would I literally ask questions? What types of things could I get my kids? Why would I use something like this? How could I use something like this? Take like 1 minute, turn to somebody, come up with an idea. How can I use this? Literally in the classroom with content, right? Not with getting to know you, but with content. How can I use this? Take a minute, go. Find a partner, whatever, in your group. Maybe 3 or 4 of you.
I don't know. I just don't want to be, I don't want her to call on me because I'm like, what? I don't know.
I remember I used to do this all the time in my class, but I can't remember why.
Do it. A little separation thingy. I hate when they do this.
Like you can use it to like show like, I can't think of the word.
I just wish she was talking.
Like similarities with like groups you're in. So it's like, you know,
collaboration.
Yeah.
Is it recording?
Time is up!
Oh.
I'm not going to point at somebody. Anybody have any thing that they'd like to share that you thought, hey, that's a good idea, I can do that. And there's a whole bunch of you, so somebody better be longing to share here, right? Who wants to share? What? You people are teachers, right? Yes, go.
Well, we did this my first semester, so I don't know if this works, but just kind of as a debate, like people went to what Haynes and they thought was correct and how to express why they thought that was correct.
Okay, all right, excellent, right? Okay, so one, I saw a hand over here. Somebody, yes, go.
Mine was pretty much the same thing. It was a lesson plan that I built. It was off of a video game, and the answers were A, B, C, and then I'd have all the students go to whatever one they thought it was, and then argue for a moment to figure out why they think this one's correct over this one, and then...
Okay, so the big point of this, before we move on to something different, is very simple. Is there anybody in the room that was not actively participating? Now, there's way too many people in here and desks for me to move around, but in my classroom I'm moving around all over the place. I'm hearing what they're saying, I'm picking up on what they're saying, and then I'm calling on them after that for that reason, right? And we're really going to have an actual event where everyone said something. Nobody sat back and said, I'll let everybody else do the work and I'll just listen. Right? Everybody head back to your desk, let's do something else. Okay, so the next thing that I have that I want you guys to focus on is this board up here, and I've written a list of 10 things. Those of you who guys have a packet, you can just flip it over to the back side. You have a nice blank spot right there, right? I want you to find a partner in the room. Find a partner in the room. Obviously, someone sitting next to you is a really good plan, right?
Be my partner.
Those of you who are standing, and I know I didn't have enough packets, and someone's trying to work on that. Hopefully, maybe you have a piece of paper or something that you can jot down, right? I've got 10 things on the board, and I'm only giving you 5 minutes because of the amount of time, and we're going to be doing a lot of different things here. So I'm going to give you 5 minutes to discuss with the person sitting next to you. We've got 10 things on the board. These are all qualities of a teacher. I want you to rank them. What's the most important? By the way, I didn't put any of these on the board thinking to myself, that's the least important. All of these are important, but I want to rank. Number 1 being the most important, number 10 being the least important out of these 10. Right? So we've got having content knowledge, having a variety of teaching strategies, being flexible, having communication skills, being energetic, having a sense of humor, being approachable, being able to explain clearly what's going on in class, being very organized, and having classroom management skills. I want you to talk it out and agree with the person next to you. I don't want you to rank these on your own. I want you to speak, and I want you to come to a consensus. So rank them together, 1 through 10. Number 1 being the most important, number 10 being the least important. Now.
I think flexibility is the most important, just because if you're not flexible, then you're not going to have all those other things that Alright. After that, I would probably say either like approachable or communication skills. I'd say communication. It's hard. Because that's like important with your students and with your like supervisors and with your peers. Approachable. Which again is for content knowledge. Honestly, you have to like know how to teach knowledge. I mean, obviously, you have to know, but like, I think explain clearly is pretty important up there. Maybe that one next, just because I feel like if you can't do that, then the other stuff won't necessarily matter. Variety of teaching strategies. Yeah, I was going to say that too. Classroom management. Classroom management, I think they're probably coming next. Thinking organized. Yeah, and then maybe like energetic. Yeah. What do we have left? Sense of humor and content knowledge. Sense of humor and content knowledge. We got our priorities straight. Well, I feel like content knowledge is like something that you can pick up, but other things you kind of like already have to have, you know? Like if you're teaching a lesson on something really specific in science, like you can do the research on that and you can become really like proficient in it, but if you're not like energetic and you don't like already have like a sense of humor and like passion stuff, then it's not really going to be fun, even if you know it.
I was going to say, if you're organized, then you already 6, and 7 is content knowledge, so
Okay, so I'm going to want to know where you guys are ranked energetically. Okay. I'm going to want to know where you guys are ranked because I feel like you guys ranked communication. Thank you. Where you guys ranked. Did you guys all get one? Yeah. Where you guys ranked sense of humor. Where you guys ranked approachable. Where you guys ranked explains clearly. Where you guys ranked organized. And girls right there, where you guys ranked classroom management skills. Alright, time is up! I went around the room and I didn't get to everybody because of the size of everybody, but I actually have assigned, our next step of this is I've assigned different groups a different element up here, right? So if you are one of those groups, you are going to determine which one of you is going to come forward. You are going to create a spectrum. That spectrum is going to be here for 1 and all the way down here for 10. Now, there might be some of you who both have 1. There might be some of you who both have 5. There might be some of you who both have 10. So it doesn't need to be a straight line. It might be a line with some clumps. It might be a line with some spaces, right? Okay, so if I went around and assigned you a group, then you're going to stand up here in a 1 to 10 spectrum based off of where you ranked what I told you to rank. Go, get up and move forward. Just one of you from your group. Just one of you from your group. One of you.
But if you really don't want to.
No, it's
And honestly, I don't care. Step, it's okay. Okay, so you all know, when I went around and assigned, there's 2 of everybody up here. Right? There's 2 of everybody up here. When I do this in the classroom, it could be 2 or 3. It depends on how big your classroom is, right? So there is repeats up here. Okay, so there's 2 things that are going on. We're going to start with 10, and we're going to work our way up to 1. And we're not going to do this all right now, but we're going to do a couple examples of this. And what's going to happen is very simple. I'm going to go to number 10, and I'm going to say, okay, what did you rank as number 10? And they're going to give it to me, and they're going to defend it. They're going to explain why. Why was that the least important out of all of these, right? And then I'm going to ask all of you people, do you agree with them? And then I'm going to want to know why. Why don't you agree with them, right? And then we're going to go on to the next one. So let's take just random couple of people that are standing up here. Let's start with you, Muse. What was the item that I asked you to rank?
Variety of teaching strategies.
Variety of teaching strategies, and you ranked it a?
6.
6. Okay, how many of the people in the room ranked it around a 6? Raise your hand. Ooh, like similar minds. All right, is there anybody who ranked it higher than a 6? All right, is there anybody who ranked it much lower than a 6? Okay, so we've at least got that. Why did you rank it a 6?
Because it's not like the least important, but we felt like some of the things like communication skills or like approachableness were more important. But variety of teaching skills was good because like it keeps the students engaged, and like if you can try to do more like different things, it'll keep them engaged and interested.
Excellent. Okay, so by the way, at this moment in time, I'd be like, oh, who disagrees with them? I'm going to say, you tell me why, and tell him why he's wrong, right? And do it in the nicest way possible. I like to, okay, I don't agree with you, and here's why I don't agree with you, right? Okay, so that's great. Who's up here? What did you guys, did any one of you guys rank something number 1? Yeah. Okay, what did you guys rank number 1?
Classroom management.
Classroom management? Approachable. Classroom management. Anybody in here? Number 1? Ooh, bad. All right. And approachable? Anybody as high as 1? Okay. How many of you guys put approachable lower? Much lower. And lower, I mean closer to 10. Confusing, right? Okay. All right. So at this point, we kind of talk about it. Okay. So now, by the way, when I do this activity, it's got to be about something that you can't rank. You can't really rank, right? I can't look at that and say, oh, okay, here's the right answer. Number 1 is content knowledge, and goes, oh yes, I was right. Yes, I got it. There's no right answer to this. So how I use it, one of the ways in which I use it is I list all 10 of the ways in which we led to the American Revolution. And I say to them, okay, rank them. What's the most important reason that we ended up in the American Revolution? What's the least important? By the way, I don't care what's most important and least. But as they're ranking them, they're talking about every single one of them, and they're going over all the ideas about them, and they're reviewing them, and then as they stand up here, they're debating and reviewing them, and they're going over everything, and they are actively participating, and they're walking out of the room with an understanding of 10 ideas. As opposed to me standing up here and saying, this is a picture of the Boston Tea Party. Aren't they angry? Right? They are all actively participating. You guys can all have a seat. Thank you very much. All right, so let's move on to our next strategy. Let's do this. Okay. How many of you guys are going to be high school teachers again? How many of you are going for high school? Okay, how many again one more time, junior high school? Okay, and elementary school, this, by the way, completely applies to you as well. But let me tell you this, after I get up and stand and I talk to teachers and I say, here's some different things that I use in my classroom, and then there's somebody who'll come up after me and say, it is so refreshing to know that you don't just stand up and give notes to your students, and that you're up there doing all these different things. And that's when I have to break the sad news to them that I teach AP US History and we take notes. Right? There is times in every single subject that we teach where you have to give information to your students. There is times in every single subject that is taught that you have to give them information, and until they have some information, they cannot actively participate, except for, hey, maybe they can, right? Maybe they can actively participate. So let's look at, and I'm going to have you, this is actually a, if I can get anything right here. Okay. So, in my classroom, we are going to think on the okay. So, anybody over there want to pull those things down right next to you? And anybody over there want to toss the lights off that's standing next to them so we're going to be able to see these a little bit better? Right? I think there's a black one in the back. Oh, but that's good. I think we can see much, much better now. All right, so we're actually, we just tested on World War II in my class, and we're starting the Cold War. So I just pulled this out of something that we recently did in class. So we were talking about all of the turning points in the battles in Europe during World War II, right? They know nothing about it. They have nothing, right? Other than maybe some background knowledge that they might have picked up throughout the fact that they're in 11th grade and they have been taught history in the past, right? So they do have some of that in the background. But do they know why these are turning points? They don't know, right? So if I'm going to stand up here and I'm going to explain it to them, I'm going to want them to actually participate with me, and I'm going to want them to figure out this knowledge on their own without me standing up and easily just saying, and this is why this is a turning point. Write it down and move on, right? Okay, so turning point number 1 that we talk about is the Blitz. Now, if you are not familiar with the Blitz is a time period where Hitler decided that he wanted to take over Great Britain. And Great Britain was really the last great hope of Europe. It was the only thing that had not been taken over by Hitler. It was it, right? Now, what has saved them to this moment in time is the English Channel. He can't just come in blitzkrieg and just annihilate them, right? So he's decided that he's going to take his Air Force and he's going to bomb the heck out of Great Britain. And he does it during the daytime for a while. We call it the Battle of Britain. And then he switches gears and he starts doing something we call the Blitz. And night after night after night, he annihilates Great Britain. And annihilates Great Britain, right? So this is where we are at the point in our discussion when I say, why is the Blitz a turning point, right? Why is it a turning point? What's going to happen here? And so then I look at these and I say, okay, so when we are going to look at a series of photographs here, and as we are watching these series of photographs, I want you to focus on 2 different things, and I'm actually going to ask all of you in this room to focus on these, right? What is life like for the people of Great Britain at this time? And what is the goal of the Blitz? If this is what's going on in Great Britain, what is Hitler trying to do? Right? And at this moment, I'm going to make sure that they know, and I do not want any student to say anything. You've got 2 questions. Now I want you to come up with the answer, but I want you to look at this series of photographs and not say a word. Look at everything that's going on in the photographs. Focus first on the first question, which is, what is life like for these people? I maybe even went through a little bit faster at those photographs than I would with my kids, maybe a little bit slower, give them a little bit more time. But what I want you to do, and the next step is not going to be, please raise your hand and tell me. It's going to be, you've got a partner. Turn to your partner. What's going on? What's life like? And I'm going to call on some of you. And when I call on you, what I want you to be able to tell me is not only life sucks, because that's what they're going to say, right? Everyone's going to be, life sucks, man. This is awful. Right? I want to know specific ideas, and I'm going to want you to say, as in that photograph. In the photograph we saw, that was this picture, right? I saw this, which made me believe this. So I want you to back up your opinion, right? I don't want you to just look at these photographs, and I'll flash through them while you're talking with your partner so that you can have that reference. But take a couple of minutes. What is life like for them? All ideas. What is life like? Go, talk.
I think the one that got to me the most was while I'm sleeping in the subway tunnel. I just so many I'm wondering if they're like there because it's like safer from the bombs, probably. Yeah. And also they probably lost their homes. Their homes are like ruined, or it's just not safe there. So, but that's like a ton of people. Yeah, so. And also the one where the lady was like handing out food and they were like smiling. And it was like kind of like even in the roughest of times, there's still like hope and
All right, so our time is up for right now. Let's get some people, and I just call on kids. I will let, now here's the thing. Some kids never want to participate on their own, and so you have to call on them. And other kids want to participate all the time. And my thought on this is very simple. I'm going to start whenever I ask kids by calling on students. And then as long as we have enough time, I'm always going to say, now does anybody want to actually participate, right? Who wants to volunteer? Because if you never let those kids that are dying to participate every single time actually speak, they'll shut down pretty early on and then they'll never want to participate, right? And those are the 5 kids in the class, 5 kids in every single class that have their hand raised for every single question that you ever ask, right? But you gotta give them an opportunity as well. Do you have a question?
Yeah, how long do you get for wait time?
Wait time, it depends on what we're doing, right? Like and how much we're accomplishing on that day. So wait time, I think a good rule of wait time is this. Did you guys all hear as soon as I said the question, what happened in the room? Right? And then honestly, if you're really paying attention in a classroom, you can start to hear it fade. And as I start to hear it fade, I go, oh, they've stopped talking. They don't know what they're talking about anymore. They're done. Right? So it's really good. Now, obviously, I'm standing up here, but whenever I'm doing this in a classroom, I'm walking all around the classroom, listening and participating, and maybe even asking my own questions to kids in groups or these partnerships, right? And so I can hear. Another really, really good thing that I thought, somebody pointed out to me the other day, and I thought, really smart. Like you're walking around, you're hearing everybody totally engaged, talking, and then all of a sudden you get to a point where you hear somebody say, and then I did this over there again. And you go, oh, they're done. They've had enough time to talk. Now move on, right? So the minute you can gauge all of that. And so I don't know that I sit up there and say, every time I'm going to watch for 2 minutes, and everybody gets 2 minutes now, your time is over, right? It's very much on the fly, and it's very much you seeing what's going on in your classroom. Right, and hearing the types of participation. So let's answer that first question. What is life like during this time period? I'm just going to call on some people so you get to be first. What's life like?
Oh, well, we were saying that it was hard, obviously, like what you were saying, but then, like, she had pointed out that some people were smiling, so they kind of, like, were hopeful.
Okay.
All the men were pretty much, like, outside working.
Okay.
And it seemed like the men were pretty independent, whereas the women were kind of working together, like in this picture. And then when the men were out, they were very, like, in suits and stuff, and they were, or not necessarily all the time, but they were walking, like, head forward, like, not necessarily paying attention to other people around them.
Okay. All right, awesome. Okay, let's go again. NAU sweatshirt, go.
We were going to talk about the same thing, like
Okay.
the smiles, you know, like there was a lot of hope in a lot of misery.
Interesting. A lot of hope and a lot of misery. Now, I mean, what's going on here? Anybody, do they all just, they're like, hey, I'd like to ride the subway, but I'm really tired. So I'm going to take a little nap. What's going on? Why are they here?
bomb.
Okay, so that's safe. Somebody want to explain that a little bit better? Raise your hand. Yes.
It's underground. It's
a perfect bomb shelter, right? Perfect bomb shelter. Okay, so if this is at night, and this is fabulous and wonderful and warm and safe and great, but what happens during the day? Think about what you just saw in the photographs. What happens during the daytime? What happens whenever they're not bombing them? What is going on? Anybody want to volunteer and answer to that? Yes.
They're kind of going about their normal life almost. Like the milkman is still going down the street with his milk, and like they're still living.
This is normal life in an abnormal world, right? So they wake up in the morning and they go back to their home and they look at their home if it's still standing and they say, great, I'll get a shower and I'll go to work. And if it's not still standing, then they move on to another house or a friend or whatever, right? And they move on. But this is a perfect example of that, right? I mean, look at the rubble around him. Who's he delivering that milk to? Where's he going? This is his job. So life goes on. Okay, so we've got another question. Now, actually, at this point, I teach history. I'm a ridiculous fan of the primary sources. We will look at a couple other photographs really quickly. I like to see these ones because it shows the overall look. And I always point out, any of you guys ever been to London? Did you visit St. Paul's? Because most people go to St. Paul's, right? Look at the death and destruction of that photograph and fight St. Paul's in it. At the top, right? It's like this gleaming little beacon of, hey, we didn't bomb you. And all my kids say, did they not mean to? And I'm like, yes, because Hitler's charitable, and he's like, leave St. Paul's Cathedral. Bomb all the way around it, but leave St. Paul's Cathedral, right? No, I mean, but they didn't destroy it. I mean, just like miracles of miracles, right? It does not get destroyed. At this point, we take a look at an actual photo, some film of it, and it actually shows the bombing taking place, and so they can see another primary source. Then we read through yet another primary source, which is a man that is a reporter, and he talks about going up onto the roof of his hotel and looking out across London and explaining what he sees, right? And then I say, okay, so now we've got all of this. I want you to turn to your partner, and here's the big question. What's Hitler trying to do? What's his goal in the Blitz? What is his goal in going in there and bombing night after night after night after you've seen how it affects the people? Talk really quickly, see if you can come up with it. What's his goal? Go. 30 seconds. Go.
Scare them. Yeah, I think just to run down their morale. Destroy them, obviously. Make them weak and demonstrate that they have a lot of power and that they're not going to give up. We can bomb all the time.
And time is up. So give me let's go with a checkered shirt in the back. What do you got? What's he trying to do?
Break their will.
Okay, so what's that going to do if he breaks their will? What would be the point? And by the way, I think that's a brilliant comment, right? To break their will. But why would he want to break the will of the people? What is he hoping will happen?
Maybe they'll move on. They'll go somewhere else.
Now, are the British going to be able to get up and move around and leave?
Not really.
Okay.
It's surrounded by water.
So they're stuck. So if they're stuck and he's trying to break their will, then what is his goal?
To be able to
surrender. Right? He has gone in blitzkrieg after blitzkrieg after blitzkrieg after blitzkrieg. He has annihilated everybody. France, the great world power, fell within 3 weeks. He marched right into Paris within 2 weeks. He is not used to having a problem taking someone over, right? He goes in and does the job. He gets to Great Britain and he says, we will break the will of the people. We will bomb and we will bomb and we will bomb and we will bomb. And when we break the will of the people, they will give in, right? Okay, so then I always like to leave with this picture on the Battle of Blitz because look at what's in that hole. Can you figure it out? You may know what this is right here? It's a double-decker bus. How big is that hole?
Big.
How effective was he in annihilating the spirit of the people? Did Great Britain fall? When we talk, this is where we actually write a few things down, right? We're taking notes, but has anybody written anything down yet? But everybody's been participating, right? And we get to the final conclusion of it, of course, which is the airmen themselves and the victory, right? Everybody, I say, what is that? And they all go, peace. And I said, really? So Winston Churchill's like, peace, Hitler, right? Right? Little different connotation during World War II, which is V is for victory. V is for victory. And he gives this nice, lovely speech, famous quote from him, of course, you know, never in the field of human conflict has so much been owed by so many to so few. Okay, so we get to this point of this idea that it's a turning point. It's a turning point because it is the first time that Hitler lost. He didn't win. Now, I could stand up here and I could say to my students exactly what I just said to you in 30 seconds and move on. And then tomorrow, if I ask that question, how many of them are going to answer it and know the right answer? Right? Okay, so we just spent 10 minutes. It was a really important concept to me. They all interacted with each other. They all interacted with the actual sources, with what was going on. Nobody just sat and wrote, right? It's an all interactive process. Now this is note taking, and I think a lot of people look at it and say, well, I can't give notes, or I won't do notes, and I can't do that because it's not interactive, and I want to have an interactive participation. You can make anything interactive. You can make anything interactive, and it's important that you do. So anytime I give notes, I make sure that I am literally making it an interactive process where everybody's paying attention and everybody's a part of the process. All right, so next thing that we are going to do is you are going to get into, and this is going to be difficult for some of you, but I'm going to say that the people that are in the back, if you can just kind of lean in, I have 10 pieces of paper up here, right? So I'm going to need 10 different groups in the room. And obviously, because of the weirdness of number in here, usually I just take everybody and make them in groups of 4, my groups of 4 in my classroom. Right? We're going to need a few more people in these groups. So what I'm going to need everybody to do is, as quickly as possible, you're going to form some clumps around the room on the table. You're going to get a piece of paper, and you're going to get a marker, and you're going to make one big gigantic T-chart on that paper, and then I'm going to tell you what to do from there. Everybody up and move. Send 10 people up here. Get it going. T-chart on that paper. Go. You know what? I will move stuff up here. If anybody on the back wants to come up here. There is space up here.
Got what, 10 sheets of paper?
There is more paper. There's a table right up here, and there's a table in the corner. If any of you guys back there want to grab, go, and I'll leave you back there want to find a piece of paper to come around. There's lots of room up here. There's lots of room up here. Spread out. Participate. Big T-chart. We all know T-charts, right? Big gigantic T. Make it out. Make it. Make a big T-chart. There is yet again one more piece of paper up here. There's a table up here. Let's get about 5 or 6 of you from the back. Come on up here. All right, so big T-chart. On one side of the T-chart, I want you to put looks like. On the other side of it, I want to hear it put sounds like. Right? Looks like, sounds like. Looks like, sounds like.
All right.
That sounds like
I am so happy. Your artistic skills. All right, so I'm going to want you guys to take probably about 5 minutes. Because of time, we're going to go about 5 minutes. Yeah, let's go 5. And I want you to think active participation. If you were to walk in, and I don't care, so do not ask me after I give these instructions, what age group are we talking about? It doesn't matter, right? It literally does not matter. If you're walking into a kindergarten classroom, or if you're walking into my 11th or 12th grade classroom, active participation looks and sounds the same. It does, right? So if you walk into a classroom and you're seeing active participation, what does it look like? What does it sound like, right? That's what I want on this list. And I want several different answers, right? I want many different views of what it is. Don't just tell me, there are people working in groups, right? Don't think outside the box. Think outside the box. What it looks like, what does it sound like? Go. 5 minutes. Looks like, sounds like.
Focused would be a look. I don't know,
Especially when it's like that. It's like
is that a CHC? Fun, yeah.
Well, you see students working groups, right? You don't see one person doing all the work. Like, I guess like collaboration. I don't know, noisy.
Yeah. That kind of falls on everything's the opposite smell of it. Noise is amazing, though. It's just like,
The ones that sound like That's all I got. It's a lot of noise.
What does energetic sound
It
like?
also looks like
Going back to voice.
Voice.
It's pretty much covering all of
It sounds like they have to be on task.
Well, what does that sound like? What are tasks?
Not talking about the weekend.
Yes.
Or
Like energetic.
Thoughtful sounds like.
They are. They're all the same topic, right? Definitely.
and they're probing, they're asking probing questions to each other.
Like figuring out stuff.
Not quite as bad as proving. We're gonna prove it.
No, we're gonna play some questions. What else is the last one? Probing?
Anyways, we're sounds.
I don't think we're on task right now, dude.
I know, but we're engaged.
We are engaged.
Engaged and motivated.
What's the sound like? Okay, I gotta like.
Yeah, the sounds are the hard ones. What's it sound like? Sounding in a lesser sense.
What's to walk in? What do you hear? What do you see?
Okay, so I'm going to cut us off right here, and this is what I want you to do. In your group, I want you to number yourself off 1, 2, 4, 5, or whatever. Give everybody a number. Everybody's got a number. Everybody's got a number in your group, so whatever that number is, everybody's got one. Go, 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 go. Some groups take a little bit longer to figure out how to number each other. There's still numbering going on in the back corner. The developed people. Okay, so here's the deal. Anytime that I work in groups of 4, and every time I give them a task to do, there is always a chance, by the way, that somebody's going to tune out. There's always a chance, right? Until they all know that I have what I call Mr. Magic Spinner. Mr. Magic Spinner is introduced in the very first time we ever worked together in groups, right? Mr. Magic Spinner is probably a little out of date, and I bet you can find all kinds of great, fabulous ones online, but I like Magic Spinner. He is mine. I've had him since the very first year that I was a teacher, and so I keep him. He's a flat little, I can talk about this first, right? He's a flat little thing that actually has numbers that if they're in groups of 2, 3, 4, 5, that if I spin, I can still determine numbers on it. Right? So I will let them know that you don't know who's going to be the spokesperson for your group. And there's going to be multiple spokespersons for your group. Every single time that I ask something of your group, I'm going to ask a different number from your group. So now instead of somebody sitting there and saying she's never going to call on me, the thought is, what if she calls on me? Right? And if that magic spinner, which is completely random, random is always better than me actually choosing the numbers myself, because I have a tendency to always pick the same numbers. Right? And then they go, oh, she never picks 2, don't worry about that. Right? But random spinner always gets the random kit. Okay, so let's just assume that I randomly spin, because I had this terror in my mind that I was going to bring the magic spinner and leave it here, so I left it at home. So I left it there. So let's say I spin it, and number 3 is the magic spinner. So who's number 3 in your group? And I want to hear looks like. Looks like. What's it look like?
Organized chaos.
Organized chaos. So what's chaotic about it?
There's movement, there's people getting supplies, forming groups, moving desks, chairs.
Okay, by the way, that's kind of interesting that you use the term chaos, because whenever I look at that, and I think you're 100% right? If somebody were to walk into the room and say, what's going on? They might think chaos, but in my mind, I know that they're all doing exactly what they're supposed to be doing, right? They all have a job, and they're all fulfilling their job, and they know that job because I told them that job, right? If I say get into groups of 4 and I've never told them how to do it before, it will be chaos, right? Not an organized chaos. Okay, so number 3 over here. Who's your number 3? Go.
For looks like?
Looks like.
Like they're focused on the task, not like daydreaming and looking around.
Okay, so there is a focus. There's a definite focus within it. Who's number 3 back there? Go.
We said collaboration.
Okay, so collaboration. How do you determine collaboration?
Like everyone's getting together and we're collaborating and bouncing ideas around.
Okay, so you're actually hearing everybody speak. Okay. All right, number 3 up here. What do you got? Looks like.
Engaged.
Engaged, which kind of same thing, right? Okay, so let's go sounds like. Sounds like over here. Let's just switch up the number to number 5. You guys have a 5? Excellent. Let's go with number 5. Go.
Eye contact with others.
Eye contact with other people. Who's your number 5? Go.
For looks like
Sounds like. We're on sounds like.
Sorry.
That's okay.
We said like debates and opinions, like looking at it.
Oh, so you actually hear different opinions. Excellent. Who's your 5? Go.
That was me.
A little delay.
We put meaningful discussion.
questions. So there'll be some people are talking about what's on topic, they're not talking about their weekend or.
Oh, on topic, on topic, on topic. Okay, you have 5 over here, go.
We said questions.
Okay, and they actually ask them of each other, right? I don't know if you guys are aware that they're changing evaluation systems all over the state of Arizona, right? And all teachers are being now evaluated differently, and one of the biggest components of evaluation of teachers is this necessarily always a teacher-led thing, or are the students leading, right? And that's the best part, that's the best moments of like this, inside fabulous, when they actually ask questions, and they guide it. And they lead it, right? So I'm definitely going to see that. What does it sound like? I know you guys don't have 5, but somebody go.
Oh, we said there's moments of silence where they're thinking.
Okay, so everybody always wants to say that it's super noisy, that it's noise, noise, noise. And if I walk into the classroom and I never hear any, if I hear silence, then obviously there's not active participation going on, right? Except for, well, let's think about just a minute ago when we were all looking at those photographs up there. Were you guys all participating? There was moments of silence. And in those moments of silence, our students are thinking, and we have to give them time to think. So they have to have moments of that silence. By the way, it's really easy for me to be able to tell, and I am always like, somebody says, well, how do you know that people are paying attention? When I flash a photograph and kids are doing this in their seats, right? And I say, really look close, and you literally see the kids do this. Right, they're 16 years old, and they're like, oh, she said look close, I'm looking. Right? You can see the body language of your students. You know what that's going on in the classroom. You can gauge if there's active participation going on in the classroom. Okay, so next question down at the very bottom, what I want you guys to talk about is what's the point? What are the benefits of active participation? Make a list of, let's pick 3 benefits. Make a list of them, go. List of 3 benefits of active participation.
Does anyone else want to
motivation. Yeah, well, and student-directed learning. They
one benefit is that you're actually going to remember more what you talked about in your class?
That's 2.
I think it involves more of like the multiple intelligences, so it helps with memory. Because you're moving around and you're making connections that you wouldn't make if you're just sitting there.
Everyone's communicating. I guess that's it.
Yep. After me, right? Keep in mind that active participation does not necessarily mean you're in a group, right? So any benefit you get out of active participation, what do you got? We've got a party going on.
Yeah. We got all 3, so we're still.
Oh, we are awesome. Okay, so we're going to do this, and we're going to do it anyhow. I know there's a million people in this room, but we're all going to do this, and we're going to follow my directions so that it gets done right, okay? So that there's not mass chaos. So everybody is going to, when I say, stand up. Not now. When I say, you're all going to stand up. And you are going to do what we all refer to, if you're probably familiar with it, we call it a gallery walk, right? So everybody's got a poster, everybody's got some what I want you to focus on is this. I want you to only look at the benefits, and I want to know if you see anything that you didn't mention in your group, right? What did you see out there that you didn't mention in yours? Everyone is going to do this. We're all going to stand up, and we're going to go in this circle, just like this, right? And you're going to look at every single poster. Everybody up and move. Go, go, go. Up and
move.
My excuse is that this one. Are we gonna do a fist bump? That's retarded. Ridiculous. I know. Ridiculous.
That's a good word. What do you see that is different than what you and your group said?
They did more than 3. It's different colors.
As soon as you get back to your spot, can you sit down so I know you're at your spot? Sit. Alright, wherever you are, get to your seat quickly, go! Please, too many people in here. Go, quickly, go, go, go!
Sorry. You got caught behind the camera.
Let's do it quicker. Alright, so we have one more thing that I want to do, and they've told me that we've got about 5 minutes to do it, so we're going to do it the most quickly as possible. Now here's the point. Did you guys see things that were different than your own?
Yeah.
Okay, and now you've got them, and now of course we would discuss them, blah, 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 blah. Now by the way, I don't care what active participation looks like and sounds like. This is just using that topic to make sure that we see how we can get people to actively participate, right? Okay, so the next thing I need is this row right here is going to be our example, right? This row right here. So you guys are going to turn around, and you are going to face somebody. You are going to turn around and face someone. Literally turn your chair, literally turn your chair, literally turn your chair. Everyone's going to focus on them, so they're going to be our demonstration, okay? This last thing I will say is something that, now keep in mind, I already told you, and you guys are going to want to clear your desks there in a little bit, okay? We've got 4 people that are going to demonstrate. You're going to pass those straight down, okay? These are 4 people right here that are going to pass, that are going to, and you're going to pass these straight down, okay? All right, so here's my last little example for you. I teach AP history, and we don't do a lot of reviewing, but I also teach some other classes, right? And did you guys not get 4 across here? No. Interesting. Let me give you 4 then. Okay? But in my regular classes, we review, right? The kids need to review. By the way, they don't tend to review very well on their own. We really do need to guide their review because a lot of them choose not to review on their own, right? So we'll have a day of review. And I've seen all kinds of reviews done. And how many of you guys have ever played a review game in your life? How many of you guys have played a review game like, let's say, Jeopardy? Yeah. How many of you guys have been in a room where people are playing Jeopardy and seen that there's 4 people participating and nobody else is participating? Hey, so what's the point of a review if no one's participating? Are we just hoping that at one moment they'll hear something and then they'll go, oh, yesterday when I was totally staring at the wall and everybody else was playing but I wasn't playing, I remember them saying something and yes, I got it right on the test, right? Now, I'm not trying to knock Jeopardy. If it's your favorite game on the planet, find a way to make it work. What I'm trying to say here is that if even in a review, you should be having all kids participating, right? Any review game I play requires every single student in the class to answer every single question every single time. And if it doesn't require that, I don't play it. What's the point? The point is to get everybody to review. This is my favorite, right? Everybody here, if you guys can connect your papers right in the middle, 2s to 3s, 2s to 3s, right? So flip that 2 and make it, yep, 2s to 3s, okay? Clearly, and I put this in that packet that you have, I arranged the room so that all desks are facing each other. There's space in between each one of the desks. Every single time you're going to face off against a different student, right? So basically I'm going to give them an actual clue, and I'm going to say, all right, everybody's listening. Your clue is, let's see how much you guys know. I'll give you an easy one, right? This is a government review that's sitting in front of you. Yes. Weird. I don't pay attention. Let's give you a 3-4, right? Okay. All right. Leave it on the ground. Don't worry about it right now. Okay, so my easy clue to you guys, and I say it so easy that you're like, oh, what if I don't know it? Okay, but anyhow, is this is government of the people, by the people, and for the people. Look for it, find it, and when you do, touch it. When you find it, touch it. Now, the correct answer, of course, is democracy, a government of the people, by the people, for the people. The example that you guys actually have on your paper is not the one they're looking at. Somehow, but it's the same idea, so that you could have that sitting in front of you. Every single time, I'm looking for a winner, and I actually say to the kids, some of you are going to win, and some of you are going to be losers, right? It's okay, so every single time, there's going to be a winner, and there's going to be a loser. And the winners are all going to move up a seat, and losers are all going to move down a seat. And you're going to, every single round, be moving, and you'll be facing off against a different person every single time. Now, by the way, every time I've ever played this game with a class of students, they kind of look at me, almost like some of you guys are looking at me like, whatever, I don't care. This looks like a stupid game, and by the end of the hour, they're like, what? And there is like chaos going on, right? It's definitely organized chaos, and there's like, woo, woo, and they're like, high-fiving, I'm amazing, and la, 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 la. And they're all participating. And every single time I ask a question, they have to answer it. They can't sit there and wait around, right? Now eventually, if you think to yourself, what if they don't know the answer? I actually give a wait time for all the smartest kids to get the answer first. And then I actually say it out loud, right? So I would say this is government of the people, by the people, for the people. Pause, 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 pause. Everybody's going, oh yes, I'm awesome, right. And then I say democracy. And if nobody's hitting your group by the time I say democracy, then touch the stupid thing and you win, right? So you're the winner. You've heard the right answer. You're the winner. Then I get kids that are like, tiebreaker. And I'm like, no, rock, paper, scissors, right? Just rock, paper, scissors. Now we got a winner. Now move on to the next spot. Right? Now, if you walk into the room when I'm doing this, I'm asking the questions, and then everyone's like, oh, cheer, cheer, cheer. Then everybody gets up simultaneously, and everybody moves, and they all know where they're going, and they sit down, and then all of a sudden, by the way, they like the game. They like listening. They quiet down on their own. Shh, I gotta hear this, right? And then I say the next clue, and we move on to the next one. But one more time, every single kid is participating. If I am playing a review game that 5 kids are reviewing in, then I'm wasting an entire hour of my instruction time. Make sure your kids are all participating. Come up with ways in which that every single one answers every single time, every single thing that's going on, right? You want them all to be actively participating. Now, in order to get us out of here, you guys all have to take a little bit of a something or other. So everybody needs a pen or a pencil out, and I will take these. You guys just pass them back this way. Thank you guys for coming. Hopefully you'll walk away with something good that you can use, and if not, then just smile at me anyhow and say, that was lovely. Thank you.